There we are. Woohoo. So, how you guys doing?
Good.
So, we want to go from left to right and, like, introduce who we are. So, if anybody does watch this later, they can figure out who we are. Oh, Jason got the lower thirds going and everything, doesn't he?
Nice.
I just set it to a NovaCut brand color.
Nice. How do I?
Yeah, why don't you start, Kevin, since this is your hangout.
I've been looking at NovaCut, a bunch of open source workflow, trying to figure out how to make web series, films, creative content in general, and all the floss work components for quite a while. So I'm trying to get some people together to hash out some ideas. And by all means, this is not like final or anything. So if you see this on YouTube, please comment. If you have input, if you have things we don't know about, please give us comments. So, Robert, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Robert. I'm a friend of Kevin, and I deal with video photography and creative minds with people, and I want to develop something worth looking at. So you'll see more of me and Kevin working together. Hopefully, something grand and wonderful. So nice to be here.
That was a delay and a half. Oh,
I can't hear what Robert's saying at all, so
Does it help when I talk like this? Do I need to yell at the mic?
what?
that might help. Hey, Robert, say something.
Say something.
See, there's a ton of background noise on your end, Kevin. Maybe you might mute it on your end when someone else is talking, just because I think that's part of what's making it hard to hear.
I think that, and you guys are in the same room, and I think I hear a echo on Cat's end.
You're muted right now. So,
Yeah. I'm Catherine, and I'm just playing along with this. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go.
I concur.
And I'm Jason, and I'm one of the developers working on the NovaCut editor, and Kevin invited me to this and figured it's a good chance to kind of get a feel for problems people are dealing with and where the weak points are currently. So
I really need to stop playing with the the toolbox.
sorry, I started a bad trend.
Yes, you
Here, I'll
did.
turn mine off, so the temptation's gone.
Actually, I'm using it. I've got the volume. Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, so um so
Don't you just love live broadcasting, Kevin.
She needs a headset desperately. Well, if it tells you. Anyway, so Floss video workflow is disjointed at best right now. So we have NovaCut, which gives us a great ingest tool. And it gives us a nice editor, but as far as being able, I think it's in the works to eventually make it part of a larger workflow so that you can actually export to other tools and round trip it through other tools. Because the general, so start off with the basics. When you produce any content and you really want to take it to make it look professional, one of the first things you do is you shoot the video on your camera, then you bring it, import it, and then you go through color correction and at least a color grading process. And then you export it to whatever medium you need to distribute. So right now, there's usually editing mixed in with that color grading in a whole mess somewhere, depending on the type of content. So like something like we're doing right now, if you're doing a live broadcast, you're probably not going to do a whole lot of editing work, depending on how many cameras you're shooting with. If you're shooting a large multi-camera setup, that could be a whole nother story. Jason Rose, I think you can speak firsthand about UDS and that. Editing can be a very fun ordeal, time-consuming ordeal. So right now, one of the things I would like to do is be able to bring in footage, do your basic color correction, because I know me and Kat are looking at a project in the near future, and she's a proud owner of a Canon, 7D? 7D. I have a Sony A55 and a GoPro. You can only imagine there's going to be a little bit of difference in the way the footage comes out of those cameras. So there's going to have to be, even if we shoot it in the same lights, same condition, we're going to have to do some grades just to be able to get the footage equalized so we can intercut very well. So color grading is an absolute necessity right now for us. Honestly, best possible solution is, even if NovaCut's not the tool that's used to color grade, ideally you would have a tool that you could take it out to, do the color grading work in a non-destructive way, and then bring that metadata back into a finalized process. And then do the entire render at one step. The other stuff you want to add in. So lower thirds, as Robert's demonstrating for us. Which right now the best tool on Linux. The best tool on Linux for doing simplest tool for doing lower thirds is OpenShot in my experience. I mean, it makes it really simple. You take and create a PNG with transparency, and then you place that in a video track above the video track that has your footage in it, and it just puts it right on top. It's that simple. So, does everybody, so you guys know what I'm talking about as far as compositing, or as far as like color grading and lower thirds and compositing and stuff?
Yes.
The lower
Cat.
thirds I get, as you can see, I kind of got that back up. Color grading, So a consistency of color throughout the film, no matter what camera you were using.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a color correction. Color grading is when you start using the color as a stylized element to create a feeling. So, like in movies,
Yeah. Like your dark horror films where you get a red overlay kind of the highlights, and it's like evil vampires coming at you.
yeah, exactly.
Or everything
And
is.
then,
Oops. Everything is teal and orange. There's a great. I don't know if you guys saw this. I'll paste it into the chat, but this great article about the trend lately in color grading for movies being everything's done in this teal and orange palette. And Tara and I watched Hugo a couple weeks ago, and the whole time I was just thinking like everything is teal and orange.
it is.
I thought that was just bad lighting. I can get that with my crappy little.
Well, I mean, you also see a lot of post-apocalyptic films will be bleached bypass, so there's almost no color left in them. Try to give a sense of the desolated world that it's taking place in.
Nobody's getting cans at the beach anymore, you mean?
Pretty much.
Nobody's having fun anymore.
Yeah. Apparently, after the apocalypse, then nobody gets to have fun anymore.
Hey, look at that. I can turn you down.
Well, I tried to turn you up all the way.
Wait, it's like I can control their mic? I don't get that.
That's funny. You can turn me down, but I can't turn myself down.
Yeah, I can turn you down. So maybe Kat should turn you down on hers, and then we won't get that echo. Does she have the
See the toolbox thing?
It takes a second to load.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a squirrel.
So, is anybody familiar with digital intermediate formats here?
A little bit, but
Do tell.
One of the interesting, challenging things about digital intermediate film formats is most of the prominent ones are still pictures. One for each frame. Which means the traditional places you look for video playback support, those libraries don't contain them. Like, I don't think there's any DPX support in GStreamer, is there?
I think there might be Decode anyway.
I know there's no OpenEXR. I've looked for it. I've looked for DNG. Those are the formats that are easy to input to Blender. So it's falling asleep on me.
I wanted to see what it sounded like. I told that totally went over my head. So I think if the frame rate at which the video is taking the pictures, and then it's a format issue with playback.
Okay, so DPX, OpenEXR, DNG are all used in film the same way. So you have reality of film is just a whole bunch of pictures strung together really fast, right? Well, in the days of film scanners, which probably about 4 or 5 years ago, when everything was still made on film, you would have film scanners that were just scanning in the images the same way you scan in any kind of photography. And they would turn them into DPX and then later OpenEXR. Those files were given to the people to work with in the video world as just a large set of files. One for each frame of the video. Which causes some interesting issues because that's still the current industry state for intermediates. So when you want to take a file full quality without any compression applied, so you don't lose anything from one application to the next, you're keeping it in these kind of digital intermediate formats. So things like if you outport video in Blender, one of your options is to outport a DPX file, and it will literally fill your folder with a single image for every frame in the video you rendered. And yes, it does take up a huge amount of space. There's another issue. Okay, so where is Blender hiding on me?
Well, should we talk more about the kind of user experience side, Kevin? Because I get the impression that Robert and Kat may not be super stoked about digital intermediate formats, maybe, but...
Well, okay, so... Do I have any... Let's color grade it, color grade it. That's going to look awesome. Okay.
Can everybody
Where is my Hangout hiding?
how does that work on playback? Can you see everything that's going on? And everybody.
That's pretty cool.
How does this work when we play the thing back? I don't know. I've never seen. Can you just see the person talking, or is it each screen?
You see the main part.
Okay.
Actually, no, you see the whole thing, the way it's showing up on there now.
But I think it'll show whatever's on your screen, Kevin. So like if it'll automatically pick the person that's talking, but also like if you clicked on a person, it'll stay on that.
Ah.
So you're kind of the director there.
Yeah, get with it, man.
So has anybody messed with Blender? I think that's a no. Oh, let's see. I really need to find some other footage. No!
So who's making all the sound effects?
Me.
There we go.
This is too much fun. Crystal Wade.
I need a 3. Ugh. Blender without a 3-button mouse is really fun. Don't try it. It's painful. No! Why can't I? That's really annoying.
I think we're boring, Cat.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
And possibly the internet too, but...
Well, is anybody watching?
Oh, yeah, no.
So does anybody have a clue what I'm looking at right now?
Final Cut? Oh.
I'm trying to drag these back to the center.
Where I do?
Is there a way to...
You're adjusting levels there of some sort?
Yep. And here's one of the awesome parts. Is where is my... I have no play button.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Some of Blender's finer features, right? There it is. Oh no, hold it. That's my render. Oh. Okay. Oh, it's still set to temp. Okay. Okay. That's nice. Yes. That's as fast as the playback. What the heck? This isn't moving. Anyway. So everybody knows what this footage actually looks like.
Did he drop off, Cat? Is he talking?
Did I go away? Not. I'm gonna have to upload this video. Really delayed. Wow. Okay, that was a bad idea. Oh. Use VLC through a screen share. Doesn't work. So, yeah, see, here's DPX, OpenEXR, and if you want your video rendered to PNGs or JPEGs, you can absolutely do it. And just so you know what it does, I'm going to go ahead and make this my desktop. And then you can see how awesome this is. Click animate. Now, does anybody, can you see my desktop?
Yeah.
Do you see all the JPGs magically appearing on my desktop?
Yeah.
It is, it's, so that's the current best way to output things. I mean, you wouldn't normally do it with JPGs. You'd normally do it with a stop. Okay, Blender, good night. You'd normally do it with like a DPX file, which is the preferred way because it's a lossless, full quality image. And now I'm going to play delete all the JPGs that I didn't want. Delete. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so that's vaguely kind of like where we're at right now. You have a nice little lift, gamma, gain control surface in Blender. You have levels. There's a hue and saturation tool that's in there as well. So we have a workable color flow or color grading. Blender itself is not... It took me a while to learn how to get the renderer set up correctly so that I actually got full quality renders out. Oh, we lost Jason. Oh. So do you guys have any questions? I didn't know I was teaching a lesson, but I didn't know I was teaching a lesson, but he's back.
I don't have.
So Jason, what do you think? So how's Nova help us with this?
Hello? I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. So I think the best solution is for NovaCut to be able to do color grading itself, because even though you know using the multiple application approach is a bit less work, it's also kind of cumbersome. And I think for at least what I understand of like what you're trying to do right now, Kat, it sounds like you don't need very sophisticated color grading. You more just need to balance between different cameras that are coming out looking different. So probably doesn't need something that's especially involved, but that's what I think. But that is going to be a bit too, because it takes time to develop stuff. And that's what I think.
And I muted myself. So for a basic color grader, you only need your lift gamma gain. So lifts your shadows details, so you can adjust the color and the contrast in the shadows. The what's it called? Gamma, which is synonymous with your midtones. It mostly affects your mids, and lift gamma gain. Brain's not working. Gain works with your highlights. So you need basically those three wheels I was showing you. They're showing up on the middle of the color grade. That's what that is. That's like the go-to tool for a color grader. The other tool that's really nice to have is a levels tool, which everything from Photoshop to GIMP to Krita to pretty much every photography app in the world has that in there. A hue saturation tool is nice. And that's really that's 99% of what you do in a color grading program until you start looking at doing power windows. And that's getting... There's going to be some substantial amount of coding to make good tracking work. I don't know, do you know what the term power windows is used for, referring to?
No, I don't.
Okay, so if say I want to make, like I want to make Rob in his shot show up better and not look blue like he is down there, I'd use a power window to motion track his face, and then I would do a color grade that only applied to his face where it ignored the background, or I could like put a blur on the background so he stands out more. That's what a power window basically does. It allows you to apply a color grade to one element in a shot, but you have to motion track that element.
Right.
Just something Blender can do. Some degree right now. One whose camera So they're changing a whole lot, and you want to motion, or like you want to put a bullet wound or something on them, you can track it to their body as long as the body doesn't change too much in the shot. Or like you have a handheld shot, and you want to put a sign on a building that's not really there. That's something you can use motion tracking in Blender to do today. Where it's challenging to get it to work right. But I haven't yet. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, like Robert said, Kevin, you're cutting out a lot. There's not enough internet in your internet. But, Kat, can you walk us through what you're trying to accomplish right now? Just so I have a little better understanding.
Nice. He's got to share his mic. But then when she talks on it, it's going to look at you. Unless she plugs it into her computer.
Okay, so pretty much.
Mute it. Kevin, mute yours, man.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. Maybe you need to
Okay, now that we have some of those technical difficulties over with. So I think what we're kind of trying to do is we want to do a web series online. We would like to use all pretty much open source programs to be able to edit it. We are going to be shooting with like our 2 cameras and doing different shots, and we want to be able to integrate that and make something that looks pretty professional. So we just are trying to figure out, I think, the workflow for how to go about making everything work together. What programs we can use, how we can use them, how we can just do open source, and I think some of the big things are the color grading is a big thing, and if Novacut's working on putting that in, that would be amazing. Otherwise, if there's like file formats that we can use that would switch between the two, we're trying to do this, fairly, we're working on it now, and as fast as we can get it out. But we're just kind of looking at what tools are available, and just working to make the whole project. So.
Okay, awesome. Yay, web series. You should totally get Microsoft to sponsor it.
I cannot hear what you're saying.
Their speakers must still be on the other.
There we go. Can you repeat what you just said?
Oh, I said, yay, web series. And then I said you should totally get Microsoft to sponsor it. It'd be like the Guild, except edited with open source software. That'd be great.
Indeed. If we could do that.
But
it'd be good times.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to see Novacut play a part in it, also if you're like doing this right now, we just may not be far enough along for it to be the right move. And I don't want to
right.
Despite my affection for Novacut, I don't want to push into something that's going to make it more work rather than less. But yeah, it's a tough thing just because I don't think any of the software out there is quite complete enough. I mean, honestly, looking at Lightworks, if they open up their beta pretty soon, would probably be a really good option, because then you can do everything just with one tool. Because I think it's got pretty complete color grading.
Okay. where would NovaCut fit into this right now? Because I know that he's told me some about what it does, but I'm not sure exactly what all it can do right now. And like I know that like I love the vision, but what does it do right now or in the near-ish future?
So right now, it just does video cutting, and that's all.
Okay.
It does it really well. Like I think that it does it well enough that, assuming it's not too much of a, cluster to incorporate it with your other tools you need, like it'd be worth looking at. Because I think, like the precision cutting is something we do a lot better than any software out there right now. But that's all we've got right now. And the next thing on the near horizon is basically our full audio features. So multi-track audio, and with a big focus on multicam, which I don't know if you guys are going to be shooting multiple camera angles at once, which I definitely recommend if possible, just because it gives you more workable footage for a given amount of time of shooting. So, if it's like kind of this fast, low-cost stuff, using multiple camera angles really helps a lot.
Yeah.
And then after that, color grading, but that's getting into, that could be a year out for us. So obviously that's too far away for something you're doing right now. But
Right, definitely.
no.
So, like, what file formats are you supporting, and would there be a way to integrate that into other things like Blender, or you're saying it was a light show that might be out in beta?
Lightworks.
Lightworks, okay.
So I mean, we can work with a really wide range of formats. It's just not all of them have we put time into testing, So we could definitely hack something together quickly for, like, if you wanted to do the cutting in NovaCut and then say maybe the audio editing and color grading in Blender. We could render something that would be suitable for Blender to use for input. So I think we can come up with something there that would work.
Okay, that'd be great.
So when are you thinking of starting shooting then?
I think we're going to start playing around with shooting techniques and how the editing is going to work in the next week or two. We're still working on scripts and getting people together and all of that sort of stuff. But it's just kind of falling together right now, and we're going to just play around with different editing techniques and learning how to do all of this pretty soon. So
nice. So did you get your 7D for doing this web series, or did you already have it, or?
I got it for doing photography mostly, but then it just seems, it works for video as well. So I was like, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. That's one of the cameras we've been working with, is a 7D and a 5D Mark II.
Nice.
But even between those two cameras, the color comes out a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And different lenses come out a little bit different. So at least that kind of color balancing or color normalizing is super important, because especially with the DSLRs, because the lenses aren't color matched the way cinema lenses are. So there's always going to be a little bit of difference and that you've got to adjust for.
Right. And that's some of the things that we need to work through. Were there other things that you were needing to know? Because there were some other workflow issues that you were working with.
The idea is NovaCut can manage everything as far as data-wise. How does it manage assets? It doesn't necessarily store. How can we ingest and export assets?
Here, why don't I give you your Galio back?
Social help with the feedback. Slide that way. Sorry.
Wow, chicka wow wow.
Wow. She's running away from me.
Welcome to the Gong Show.
I muted myself. So, Jason, is there any plans in the short term? In the short term to import and export files? Because what would be ideal is we can take files that were created, ingested, and worked on in NovaCut, export that file so you can run it through like a color grade or a VFX process, then bring it back into NovaCut and integrate it into the edit in NovaCut. Does that make sense? You muted yourself, didn't you?
I did. Sorry. So definitely the exporting isn't a big deal. Importing it back in and kind of using it in place of a previous file is more complicated. And I guess I feel like that takes us a little bit off track in terms of what's the highest priority for us right now. But no, so it's a little hard to say how soon that could happen.
Because I mean, as NovaCut being kind of the glue layer where it manages all the assets,
Right.
That's really a critical thing to make that happen.
Right.
I mean, right now, I would
You're muted, aren't you? Your mic?
I'm not, but I can.
we're buying Cat a mic. That's all there is to it. Even if she shows up here with a lavalier next time.
Tara might join us for a few minutes. I'll take off my headphones so I might get a little feedbacky.
Can't be any worse than we've had. We have a Chromebook. I'm not saying anything bad about the Chromebook. I'm just saying something bad about built-in microphones. I haven't found a laptop that had a good built-in microphone yet. If anybody knows of a laptop with a good microphone built-in, please tell me. Because I'm buying her one.
my MacBook Pro had a pretty good mic in it. Like,
Yeah, the problem is her Chromebook's too good. It hears across the room.
Yeah, I may have to switch headsets again, but Kat, you should tell Tara about your web series because she'll be excited about it.
Yes, unmute, Kat.
Do you want me to hand you that? Or do you want to
Where are you
tell
guys
them about
at?
the web series?
Where are you guys at?
T. Moore. She lives in Seattle, so.
Okay.
And they have better internets than I do.
No. Okay, so you're wondering about what the web series is?
Yeah.
So that's kind of hard to explain, but we're looking at sort of a Victorian-ish setting with people called scribblers. And basically it's sort of like a magic thing, and it's sort of a dystopic. They're trying to rewrite the laws to get like it back in. Yeah, okay. I'm not explaining it very well. But it's sort of like scribbling was outlawed 20 years ago in the society, and since then, information in general has kind of become like people don't really things, and so information is condensed, and so it's sort of just dystopic, and so then the main people are just trying to like get it reinstated, and it's just kind of yeah. I sort of know what's going on, but it's sort of coming along, so doing like a tagline version of it is sort of hard. So if that made any sense whatsoever.
So you're in the screenwriting process right now, or
we're
an actual series though?
We're planning to do about like 20 episodes or so, 15, 20 episodes, someplace in there. Yeah. And just film it in somebody's garage on green screen, and then kind of draw in the backgrounds. So.
Very cool.
Kind of interesting.
Nice.
Have any of you guys worked on like film projects or like web series or such things?
No. I mean, it's all we've done really is video for conferences. So I can't even imagine like running a set, and then sifting through and managing all of that footage from just even one shoot. Seems like
kind of
a crazy amount of work.
We're kind of crazy people.
Well, it sounds awesome. Let's go for it.
It's a team effort, and naming conventions for files and putting things in order needs to be of the highest priority, because once things get away from you, you're looking at failures.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I'm not sure if NovaCut's going to be far enough along for you guys to use, and I don't want to push it on you if it's not ready. I don't want to like hold you guys back, especially. But one thing that's kind of D-Media's claim to fame is, name conventions just don't matter, because D-Media takes care of kind of identifying the files, and then you can describe it in whatever way you want, and that's not going to break the linkage between it and the software that's using it, because that comes up so often in projects. Like as the complexity grows, it's just so hard for people to manage that. If you have like 10,000 files or something, I mean, it's a huge mess. So.
Yeah.
So do you do the shooting as well, or are you pretty much focused on screenplay writing and?
So for me, I'm doing the screenwriting, and then I do photography. I haven't really done video, but I think both of us are kind of learning to do cinematography and how to use our cameras to be able to do that, and what the good conventions are.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of crossover between photography and videography. So if you're a decent photographer, I think you'll be a decent videographer.
That's what I'm hoping, but we'll see. I just studying footage and what people do. So
Right.
I think that's kind of the point that we're at, is learning how to use all these things, Blender, NovaCut, and video filming and all of that. So
Right.
That kind of touches on what Jason and I got into talking about. The more you can do as a photographer without editing, these After Effects kind of thing,
Right.
the better off you are in the long run. And that really comes down to storyboarding, I think, and really an idea of, like, I'm interested in what you're saying about the doodling, the background, or having like a, I don't know, like this weird malleable background that is kind of going on in the back. That's interesting to me, and I see perspective play on it, and some really cool transitions that could happen. Yeah, that sounds interesting. It's something I want to see develop out, see where it goes. Regardless if it does anything huge, it's an art expression that I think could be enjoyable by just a group of people like us. So that's exciting. I like the Victorian age too, you know. Now, are you thinking it's actually in Victorian times, or is it like a Victorian-esque?
I think it's not. It's going to be more Victorian-esque. It's not actually set in Victorian because that placed a lot of constraints on the story.
Right.
And then I had seen like a web series that's called Aiden 5, and that had actually kind of sparked my imagination for doing the drawn-in backgrounds, because they actually do use that. So it's something that you could check out if you were interested in seeing somebody's take on it.
You said it's Aiden or Hayden? H or
Aiden, A,
Okay.
as an apple.
Okay. Aiden 5. Okay.
So does it have its own like YouTube channel then? It's where they distribute?
It has YouTube, but they have their own website, and it links to their YouTube videos. So you can just Google Aiden 5, and it'll pull it up. So, and I think that's pretty much what we're planning to do, is have a website that links to YouTube videos, so you can find it through a couple different variations of searches.
That's smart, just in case, you know, one source is down, you know, another is available. You know, that's very smart.
So, do you have other things? Do you want your microphone? He's off in his own little world. I don't know what he's doing. Were there other things that you were looking at?
There's some other interesting, like she was talking about doing a flashback sequence, but it's hard enough to find actors when you don't have a budget. Much less finding an old and a young version of a character.
Right.
So we were thinking about some of the ideas, just like using maybe a lens baby with a plastic on it, or another idea was using a doing like a hand-drawn sequence and doing stop motion animation in there. So we've got a couple ways, which that would also be one thing, that if we could just do a bunch of JPEGs of the stop motion and then import those as a video sequence, that would be really fun. So, I mean, there's lots of challenges. One of the things that would be nice, just from a workflow standpoint, is to have a way to rate clips as we import them, so we can go back and look at everything we brought in and go, this clip actually looks good. This is the take we want to use, kind of deal. That would be hugely valuable. I mean, as a photographer, you know, you take 1,000 pictures and then you turn out with like 20 of them that are usable.
Right.
Yeah.
Just having that 5-star rating system, or hey, this was good for this shot. 'Cause that's one thing that's also a big deal, or really nice to have, is a way to tag your photographer, tag your clips, so you can tag your audio files and be able to know what goes with what later. Because I mean, the plan right now, I mean, what we're planning on going with is a bunch of H1s and literally sticking one voice recorder in each person's pocket. So we have one mic, one recorder, and all the channels are independent. Which is going to make a lot of work in post to get the audio synced just right.
Right.
Also, a lot of audio assets, but that, I mean, your typical Hollywood production redoes all the audio later anyway, so it's still going to be a little bit one up on them. And we don't need the sound guy to try to figure out how to aim a boom mic, nor bring back the actors to try to re-record audio. And there again, if you don't have a budget,
Right.
the less you get to add to the actors, the better off you are.
Yeah.
So that's another reason that you wouldn't want to use a directional microphone with because then you got to add another person that has to have a decent amount of skill to the mix. Yet another layer of potential mess ups. Another reason to do 5 more retakes, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds awesome.
She's all about the creative side. She can have it. I'll kick her in the butt when she doesn't have a good idea. So, have you learned anything?
Yeah. I don't know if you're asking me, but I'll answer yes.
What about you, Robert?
I always learn something when you're talking. Then I forget it, and then I relearn it the next time.
By the way, have you had a chance to look at OpenImage.io?
No, I still haven't.
Okay.
But,
Because that looks like hopefully the easiest way to be able to get still images in as a video sequence.
okay.
And be able to export to them. Because that's looking like it's going to be a very useful feature to have. So, I can't think of anything else. I don't know how long we've been doing this, but I think it's going to be
It's been pretty long for live on the internet, I think, but
it's going to be a really long YouTube video. I may edit it down a little bit. Nice that you could join us, Tara.
Yeah. And it's always exciting to meet people who are making content, you know. It's because, like you said, it's tough to kind of work around financial constraints, but some interesting stuff can come out of the constraints that you have to work around too. So
yeah.
And I like the premise of the show. Sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around the whole idea. It's going to be fun. I'm trying to think, how am I going to make this actually work? But, you know, somebody that read The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings are like, how in the world are we going to make this real? And you got to think, when Lord of the Rings started, as far as I know, that was Weta's first real project, really big one.
Right.
I mean, a lot of studios have came out of just dealing with giant projects. ImageWorks did a huge thing with Stewart. This is the first time you had an animated character really being a lead, computer animated, and he had fur. And at the time, fur was a huge challenge. And then they told them they had to have wet fur. And they just artists like, I have no idea how to do fur. How the heck do I do wet fur? Oh no. Just the computers, you couldn't even model fur because they weren't powerful enough then. Because that was like in the 90s.
Right.
So, I mean, it's amazing when you get into like the animated characters, how many people get into how many artists get involved with that, make it happen.
Yeah.
I think it's a good time to wrap it up.
Well, it was good meeting everybody.
Yes.
And maybe if you guys meet again, I can jump in a little sooner.
Yeah.
Hopefully.